Good morning. I hope you all started your C works of the sectors of economy because in previous class I started a new lesson, that is the sectors of the Indian economy. So you better write your C works from day wise. By that it can complete simultaneously. It will complete your C work as well as learning. So yesterday we discussed about different economic activities. So we know that many economic activities which are taking place in and around us. So these many economic activities, how can we analyze how many economic activities are there? So how many people who are engaging in different economic activities, these different economic activities, how these are contributing to the GDP of our country and all. So that's why we categorize the economic activities into three. So those are primary sector as well as secondary and tertiary sector activities. So let us recapitulate what is primary, what is secondary and what is tertiary sector economic activities. So yesterday we discussed about these economic activities, especially primary, secondary and tertiary. Come to the primary sector. So these primary sector economic activities mostly depend on nature. Economic activities which completely depend on nature categorized under primary sector. So whereas come to examples which comes under primary sector, agriculture and all its allied activities comes under primary sector. So why agriculture and allied activities comes under primary sector? Agriculture, you take any plant, so cultivation of crop, it is mostly related with nature, that means rainfall, weather conditions, humidity, temperature. So that's why cultivation comes under primary sector. And animal rearing again comes under primary sector because it involves biological activity. So that's why fishing, animal rearing, poultry, these are all comes under primary sector. Mining also comes under primary sector because minerals are formed naturally. Simply we are exploiting the existed minerals. That's why minerals also comes under primary sector. Forest. So forest also naturally it grows. That's why forest comes under primary sector. And whereas secondary sector, here whatever the goods which are produced in primary sector, it convert from one form of good to another form of good with the help of machines and tools. So it is nothing but manufacturing activity. Example, sugar is made out of from sugar cane. So in this way, here sugar cane is producing in primary sector. We convert sugar cane into sugar in industrial sector. So what is the exact striking difference between primary sector and secondary sector? In primary sector, we are producing the good with the help of nature. We are exploiting the nature to produce the goods in primary sector. Whereas in secondary sector, we are converting a good from one farm to another farm with the help of machines and tools. So all kinds of manufacturing activities comes under industrial sector. From tiny scale to large scale industries comes under this sector. That is why this secondary sector is also known as industrial sector. Primary sector is also known as agriculture sector. So third sector, what is the third sector? Tertiary sector. So what is a tertiary sector? In tertiary sector, we are not at all producing any tangible goods. Simply it render its services to either primary sector or secondary sector. So here only services are rendered. So that's why tertiary sector is also known as service sector. Which comes under tertiary sector? Banking activities, postal, transport, insurance. So these are all comes under defense, administration. These are all comes under tertiary sector. And yesterday we discussed about these three sectors, how we assess these three sectors. That means how much worth of goods are producing in primary sector, how much worth of goods are producing in service secondary sector, how much worth of services are rendered by service sector, how we calculate all these things and why we have to calculate and all. Yesterday we discussed. And one more thing, yesterday we concluded that all three sectors are interdependent. Examples also we discussed. If a farmer refuses to sell his sugar cane, will the sugar industry run? No. Obvious answer is no. So here industries are depend on agriculture for its raw material, especially agro-based industries. At the same time, one more example we discussed that suppose a cotton industry, textile industry is refused to buy cotton from the Indian farmers. They choose to import cotton from other countries. And then what will happen to the Indian farmers? Naturally, they may feel they may get less price because it won't be demand for cotton. That's why here primary sector is depend on secondary sector. At the same time, farmer to grow his crops he need electricity, seeds, as well as fertilizers, pesticides and all. For all these things, again farmer depend on industry. I mean, if price increased for these things, naturally the cost of production also will increase. We can understand from these that primary sector again depends on secondary sector as well as a tertiary sector. Another example also we discussed that in this from the table. So if food is providing by primary sector, so naturally these food materials are carried through transport. If transport they are in band. Generally, we know that some of the times, of course, now also due to lockdown, so the movement of goods from one place to another place is restricted. So, in this way, transport and lorries refuse to take vegetables, milk from rural areas to urban areas. Again, it will be a problem. So, in this case, we understood that primary sector as well as other sectors, secondary sector depend on tertiary sector. So in this way, all three sectors are interdependent. And yesterday itself, that categorization, I think you understood that these people, different professional who belongs to either primary sector, secondary sector and all, tailor, basket weaver, a flower cultivation, a cultivator, milk vendor, these are all we categorized. You go through once again, okay, and you have any doubt, and C work is already given there. Answers for all these things are given in the form of C work. You go through once. So comparing the three sectors, why we have to compare these three sectors? Because first of all we have to understand which sector is contributing more to the economy and what is its contribution, how much proportionate contribution is there from primary sector, secondary sector as well as a tertiary sector. That's why we have to assess the total value of goods which are producing from primary sector, secondary sector, and how much worth of services are producing from tertiary sector. You have to examine. By that we can understand. When we are calculating the value, we have to take the final value of the goods and services produced in a country. That what yesterday we discussed about one example also. So 10,000 kgs of wheat sold by a farmer at the rupees 8. So the worth is 80,000. So value of 5,000 coconuts at rupees 10, simply 50,000. So the total value and service in three sectors are calculated and added in this way. So why we have to take only final goods? If you take intermediate goods, so counting will be doubled and tripled. So that's why one example is given regarding this. So one farmer who sell his wheat rupees 8 per kg to a miller. So that miller grinds the wheat, converts into flour. He sell flour to the biscuit company rupees 10 per kg. So that flour and other oil as well as sugar is using by the biscuit company. It produces biscuits and they sell to the consumers. If you take the value of biscuits, which includes the value of flour as well as value of wheat, so we can take how it is calculated. We can take in a better example to see once. If a here farmer sell 100 kgs of paddy to a miller, and then that miller converts into rice and husk. So 80 kgs of rice and 20 kgs of husk. Husk you know now. And then the miller sell to hotel this rice and husk. See its price once. So farmer 100 kgs into 25 rupees per kg, so 2500. Here 80 kgs of rice, 80 kgs into 40, 3200 rupees, and husk again 20 kgs and 20 rupees, so 400. Altogether here 3600. So hotelier, by selling all these things, he get 5,000 rupees. Take as an example. See the example once. Here farmer sell 100 kgs of paddy to the miller. So worth 100 kgs into 25 rupees, 2500. So miller converts these 100 kgs of paddy into 80 kgs rice and 20 kgs of husk. So 80 kgs into 40 rupees per kg, 3200, and husk 20 kgs, each kg 20 rupees. So 400, 3200 plus 400, 3600. And hotelier used this rice and husk and he sold rupees 5000. So if you take this 5000, which includes the value of rice of 2500 as well as the value of rice as well as a husk. See the another way how we calculate this one. Here in this regard, you take simply paddy 2500 as well as a second stage Miller. So total value is 3600, but he paid 2500 to the farmer. The value added here is 1100. And come to the hotel. Here the total value is 5000. At the same time he paid 3600 to the miller. So here additional value added is 1400. So altogether 5000. See once here. So Paddy rupees 2500 and Miller the total value is 3600. Out of these 3600 already he paid 2500 to the farmer. So the value added is only 1100 in the second stage. Third stage, the total value of his output is 5000. He already paid 3600 to the miller. So value added in the third stage is 1400. So altogether 5000. So in this way we have to add at each stage is one method, or if you take only direct 5000 the value of the final goods and services, which includes the value of all the stages of goods. In this way we calculate the GDP and all. I hope you understood how the calculation takes part and all. So altogether, how to calculate GDP? It is very much important task, and which is a familiar word to us. GDP increases this percent, GDP growth rate is that percent. It is estimated by Indian Finance Ministry as well as IMF. These are all familiar words to us. So what is GDP? How we calculate GDP? So GDP is nothing but the total value of all the final goods and services produced in a country during a period of 1 year is known as GDP. Listen once again. The value of all the final goods and services produced in a country during a period of 1 year is known as GDP of that country. So calculating GDP is a very much tough task, and it involves a complicated procedure. So in India, the Ministry of Statistics and Program collect information from all the departments and calculate the GDP. So what is the GDP of our country at present, or which country is in top in GDP and all? So generally, internationally, the GDP is calculated or expressed in US dollars, especially in trillion US dollars. So the country which produces highest GDP in the world is US, that means United States of America. Its GDP per annum is $21 trillion, which is the largest economy in the world as far as GDP is concerned. The second largest is Germany, which is somehow more than 500 trillion US dollars. And the third, Japan, second one, China with 14 trillion dollars. And third one, Germany, it is more than 4 trillion dollars. And fourth, Japan, near to $4 million. And fifth largest economy in the world is India. So our total GDP at present is a little less than $3 trillion. So fifth largest. Can we conclude that India is the fifth largest economy in the world as far as GDP is concerned? Can we say that India is a developed country? Obvious answer is no, because here the income is sharing by 130 crore people. So altogether, so this 5 trillion income is sharing by 130 crore people in our country. But whereas in US, $21 trillion are sharing by only little more than 30 crore people. So that's why how much people are sharing this total GDP is also important. So and come to calculate the GDP, one formula is there. It is which is easy to calculate. That is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. See once. See the formula once. GDP is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So what is C here? The value of consumer goods. C means value of consumer goods. Note down, please note down. C is equal to value of consumer goods, the total value of consumer goods produced in the country. I means capital goods. So, do you know the difference between capital goods and consumer goods? Consumer goods means goods which we are using in our day-to-day life, like paste, soap, notebooks, etc. So capital goods means the goods, again it produces and it generates income, like machines as well as vehicles for transport. These are all comes under construction of a building. These are all comes under capital good industries. So total consumer goods as well as capital goods, that what we represents I, plus the total value of goods produced by the government as well as total value of services rendered by the government, which indicates a G. G means government expenditure. Here X minus M means X represents exports and M represents imports. So difference of value between exports and imports. So with this formula we can calculate GDP of the nation. Simply consumer goods, aggregate value of consumer goods which was produced in a financial year, as well as investment, that is capital goods, the total value of capital goods, and government expenditure, plus the difference of value between exports and imports. In this way we can calculate the GDP. So what is a GDP growth rate generally? So growth rate is nothing but we compare the GDP value to the previous year. Suppose this year our GDP value is 1,10,000 crores. So last year GDP is 1 lakh crores. So growth rate is simply 10%. That means the present GDP by last year GDP into 100. Simply we will get the GDP growth rate. So which is a common word, GDP growth rate, because it indicates how the economy is going on. If GDP growth rate is good in number, which indicates that economy is in right track and it leads to development of the country. So many developed countries registered double digit of GDP growth rate over decades. That is why those economies turned as a bigger economies like US, China, Japan, Germany and all. So that's why GDP growth rate is very, very important factor. So come to the importance of this sector. Which sector is important and all? So naturally all three sectors are important only, isn't it? So but historical changes that took place in these sectors. So initially, if you consider the developed countries, the primary activity was agriculture only. So the country which was prosperous in agriculture was considered as a developed nation. So when they started to produce more and more food stuff, and more people who started to take up new professions like a craft persons as well as manufacturing activities and services activities and all. So in this way, so initially primary sector was more important, and then Then other sectors started to emerge in our country. So not only in our country, in all the countries, especially developed countries, initially developed in agriculture sector. Later, that idea or notion of development of primary sector indicates to the development of the country was changed due to industrialization. We all know how the industrial revolution that took place in England as well as other European countries. So industrial revolution changed the mode of manufacturing goods with the help of technology, with the help of machines and all. So industrial revolution brought prosperity to England and other European countries. So that's why the idea, the importance of different sectors changed. So the shift that took place from agriculture sector to industrial sector, that means we started to give more importance to industrial sector rather than agriculture. So this is because of industrial revolution. So industrial revolution brought more prosperity to the industrialized countries. So that's why the importance increased to industrial sector when compared to primary sector. So this again takes some further shift from last 100 years. We started to give more importance to service sector because the importance of service sector increases because of increase in technology as well as more and more services comes into existence. So that's why these are all increased over a period of time. So importance to service sector is increased. Nowadays, service sector is contributing more to the country's GDP in developed countries. So if you, this is all about the pattern of developed country. So come to the India. Primary, secondary and tertiary sectors in India, how these are contributing. Here bar graph is given in 1973 as well as 74 and comparatively it is given 2013 to 14. See once. So GDP by primary sector, secondary as well as the tertiary sector is given here. So go through once you can understand. So here approximately in 1973-74 our Indian GDP was somehow more than 5 lakh crore rupees. So out of this mostly highest contributor was agriculture, second highest contributor was service and least industries. So come to the 2013-14. See once. So altogether total GDP which crossed 5,50,000 crores. Out of this mostly contributing from service sector. So second highest contributor industries and third largest contributor agriculture. See the exercise here some questions are given. You have to go through once, by that we can assess in a better way. See, which was the largest producing sector in 1973-74? Obvious answer, agriculture. Which is the largest producing sector in 2013-14? Service sector. Can you say which sector has grown the most over 40 years? Service sector. What was the GDP of India in 2013-14? It is above 5,50,000 crores. So at present we discussed approximately 3 trillion US dollars. So recently Modi planned to double our GDP by 2024. He targeted 5 trillion economy by 2024. So maybe it is not possible because of this corona effect and all. And come to rising importance of tertiary sector we concluded because into 1973-74 the highest contributor to the Indian GDP was primary sector, whereas now the highest contributor to the Indian GDP is service sector. Why this shift that takes place is explained here. In the initial stage, the country requires some hospitals, educational institutions, postal services, telegraphs, police, administration, transport, banking, insurance, and all. So these are all basic services which are essential for the development of the country. So these are all comes under service sector. That is why the total value of service sector increased. That means the contribution to the Indian GDP increased from service sector. And come to the second reason. So development of the agriculture and industrial sector again helps for the development of service sector. How? If more crop is produced, naturally this requires more transport and more, it will helps for more trade, more storages. These are all comes under service sector. If industrial sector produces more, naturally again it helps for the development of a service sector. And then when the people income started to rise, naturally people may expect more sort of works. That means tourism sector may develop, as well as hotels may increase, shopping malls may increase, private hospitals, schools, also number of schools and colleges as well as hospitals may increase. So which increase activity of service sector. So and last 4 decades we know that technology nowadays technology is ruling the world, and moreover due to globalization process and all, service sector get its prominence, and its service sector is contributing more to the Indian GDP at present. Of course it is a welcome trend because in all the developed countries service sector is the largest contributor to its GDP. The second largest contributor to the GDP of the developed countries is secondary sector. The least contributor to the GDP of the developed countries is primary sector. So it is somehow welcome sign because here the contribution from service sector increased and compared to remaining 2 sectors and all. But whereas its proportion you see once on the whole, even though the total value increased, but percentages are given see once. So on the whole here in GDP, share of sectors in GDP, primary, secondary as well as tertiary, 374 as well as 2013 and 14. So but whereas employment share is given C once. So in employment share in all 3 sectors in 1970 to 73, majority of the people who depend on agriculture, primary sector, 74% of people who get an employment opportunity in primary sector. In secondary sector only 11% of the people, and service sector it is 15%. But come to the 2011-12 scenario. Here 49% people still who accommodates employment in primary sector, and 24% in secondary, 27% in service sector. So when we compare to countries' GDP as well as employment patterns, we have to notice that service sector started to contribute more and more than 60% is contributing. See once how much percentage is contributing by service sector. So here out of 100%, how much it is contributing? Almost 68%. Service sector is contributing 68% to Indian GDP. And agriculture is little more than 10%, we can take 12%, and industrial sector somehow 20%. So this is about contribution to GDP of primary sector as well as secondary sector and tertiary sector. But whereas employment, see the employment ones, but employment did not take that much shift. Employment 74% was provided in agriculture or primary sector in 1973-74. So in 2011-12 it reduced to 49. So industrial sector it was 11% and now it increased to 24%. And service sector 15% to 27% only. So what can we conclude by comparing contribution of primary, secondary and tertiary sectors to the Indian GDP as well as share of sectors in employment? Simply we understood that the total value of secondary sector as well as tertiary sector increased enormously, but whereas employment did not take that much shift. So we see once, so altogether with the whatever the period which discussed 1973-74 to 2011-12, here industrial production increased 9 times, but whereas employment opportunities increased only 3 times. Did you understand? So industrial production increased 9 times, but whereas employment opportunities increased in industrial sector is only 3 times. At the same time, service sector also the same. In service sector, its value of production of service sector increased 14 times, but at the same time, employment opportunities in service sector increased only 5 times. So here we find some difference. Secondary sector and service sector started to produce more to the GDP, but these two sectors failed to provide more employment opportunities as far as it's compared to its production and all, because this service sector is contributing more, which includes highly technical employees as well as at the same time workers like hackers as well as plumbers, small electricians. These are all also includes in service sector. That means some people are earning good revenue or good income in service sector. At the same time, some people who are working in odd jobs are also there. So why, even though industrial production increased in secondary and tertiary sector, it failed to provide employment opportunities simultaneously in secondary and tertiary sector. So in tomorrow's class we will discuss in a detailed manner by taking different examples and all. So today you better go through the concept whatever we discussed, especially you have to go through the bar graphs once and twice and try to understand the concept and take the C work, especially complete your you start your C work, because you have complete notes is there with you. Just you copy the notes whatever I sent to you, and that is enough, and you start learning the questions whatever the task which is completed. So in this way you do the work writing as well as learning simultaneously. Okay, thank you.